Morning, everybody. My name is Sean Shapiro. It is Friday, the 24th of September, and we are excited to be here today. We are joined with to talk by Peter Mohyla from Go Transit Metrolinx. We are going to be talking about rail safety, and I had to look something up for you. I want to start off by simply letting you know the business end. The business end is the Vision Zero spiel that we do in the mornings, and that is to say that Vision Zero is currently, today, focusing on 31 and 43 division. What is this Vision Zero business, right? Not everybody knows. Well, they're a dedicated team of officers that go into divisions and augment the already good work being done by divisional officers, and they focus on speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving behaviors. It's the choices people make. And those are the offenses and behaviors that lead to serious injury and death on our roads. Before I bring Peter onto the screen, I want to share with you a video that he sent me, and I think you're really going to find it, well, moving. So let me bring that up.
I was really active. I was Taekwondo for 7 years, got my first degree black belt.
I miss hiking, I miss skiing. There was even a camping trip I was gonna go on. I don't think I can do it.
We're all pumped up and everything. I was getting ready to go and start my career in the military. We went out to celebrate.
I was 13 years old and I was hanging out with my friends. One of my friends taught me how to train hop.
I wake up in the hospital, and I go to rip the blankets off me, and I realize that there was no arm there.
If I could go back to that day, I would say, don't do it.
That's a serious video. Hi, Peter. How you doing?
Good morning. Great. Thank you for having me on today.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate the we're not just traffic services. We deal with rail safety and partner with you guys all the time. So it's awesome to have you on here and help spread the word about rail safety. It is Rail Safety Week.
Yes, it is Rail Safety Week. In actually North America, we partner up with Operation Lifesaver Inc. in the United States, and we do a North American wide campaign because the issues are just not localized. They're across the whole country, both countries. And
It's everywhere where rails go, and that's everywhere. That's how we move.
yeah, and it's sort of like once every 3 hours, either a pedestrian or vehicle is involved in a train incident in North America, resulting
wow.
in 2,100 people either losing their lives or serious injuries each year.
And I like what you said before we went live, is that every week is Rail Safety Week, and it's amazing. I used to live right next to railway tracks, the condo that I lived in, so it wasn't a noise issue, but occasionally we heard some terrible stories where a vehicle was struck and people died. So these are things happening all over the place, and they're preventable.
Absolutely. I don't believe there's such a thing as an accident. There are incidents that occur because accidents are all preventable. And that's part of what I do with Operation Lifesaver. I've been involved with them with my goodness, over 30 years now in promoting railway safety and education and trying to get the public aware that, railways are great. A lot of people like to watch them. Kids like to see trains go by. I remember as a child, same thing. My dad, we lived up in a rural community, just standing off to the side and watching trains go by. It was just there's that fascination that everybody has with them. But people got to realize that they're very dangerous.
Certainly. And 18 the big rigs. I've seen situations where I happened to be vacationing in Florida, in the hotel I was staying at, right in front of a railway crossing, and a train went through and struck a gas tanker. That was, it was unbelievable to see what happened and the damage that was caused, and very, very, very scary. Happened to be when a drug enforcement agency conference was happening in the hotel I was staying at, so there's a lot of personnel to help, but incredibly scary. There's some friends of mine with CN Police had told me about the markings and telephone numbers and what to do if. What can you tell us about 18-wheelers in particular if they get stuck on the tracks? What do you do?
Get out. If you can't, if you're stuck on the tracks or if the gates are coming down, just keep going. Breaking a gate is nothing compared to what can happen if the train strikes that vehicle. And like you're saying, that case in Florida where it's the volatile, you know, some of the loads that they carry, are quite dangerous.
Sure.
And if they're going to go across, make sure that, you fit if you go before you commit. Like, make sure that if it's like some grade crossings are right at an intersection where you make the, let's say, right hand or left hand turn, all of a sudden there's the gates there. If you can't get over those gates safely, because a train could be coming, don't commit yourself. And especially with traffic being tied up, don't crowd the tracks. Stay away from them.
So making sure you have room to get to the other side, not sitting in traffic. Now that was a very specific area. It is in the midst of a traffic situation, but you don't want to plan to. You never want to stop on the tracks. You
No,
want to make sure you can cross through safely prior to committing. I like that. And it's the same thing when you cross an intersection at any road. You want to make sure that you can get clearly to the other side, not to block an intersection. Of course, in an intersection, drivers will see you. There's a way to stop if something happens. It's not. But a train doesn't stop on a dime, does it?
no, it can take over 2 kilometers for some freights to stop, or even longer. Like for via trains and GO trains, the dynamics are a little bit different, and the braking is different because of the way the trains are designed. So they can stop in about the length of 18 football fields.
18
So
football fields, so
yeah,
it's almost stopping on a dime. It's serious. It's serious, and there's a lot of, as you said, injuries that are caused by people being where they shouldn't be. There's areas that all the track areas are prohibited, are they not?
yes, they are. It's trespassing on railway property. It's all private property. The popular misconception saying, "Well, I pay my taxes, so with Metrolinx, I own those tracks." No, you don't. It's private property, and you're only allowed to be there if you're an employee, someone who's highly trained to be in that area. We have ways of letting crews know that we're in the area. If we have to do something or investigations, and the same with all the emergency services. Let us know that you're there so we can get the real traffic stopped if need be. The last thing we want is having any type of incident with our emergency responder friends.
It's really amazing. I had the opportunity. I never really spent time. I never used the GO train. I never spent time on the tracks or on using the rails as a passenger. And it wasn't until I worked at headquarters that I started using the GO train to get to work. And it was eye-opening. I didn't realize how much there's so much going on and so much communication to be able to do that safely. And they move fast. What is the average speed of a GO train?
It's about 85 miles per hour.
85 miles per hour. Wow, and that's a tremendous amount of weight, and then you got those football fields worth of stopping time. So when folks think it's the red lights are flashing, but the arms haven't come down, and they just want to squeak through before because they're in a rush to go somewhere, the risk that they're putting themselves is tremendous.
Yeah, it's a lot of it too is sometimes where they like with the campaign that they did in England this year. It's with International Level Crossing Awareness Day. People put themselves in a bubble, and the campaign was don't get caught in that bubble. Like you're busy either when you're walking, you could be on your phone, you're not looking, you're not aware of what's surrounding your surroundings, and then all of a sudden you're on the tracks and the gates come down. There's that train, and same with the vehicles. So you always have to be aware. Just don't take the risk. For 2 minutes, to try to get quicker and beat that train, it's not worth your life.
Well, that's it. Ashton Stein has sent a message. He said, family friend years ago got hit by a train because the arms and lights didn't turn on at all. Luckily, he's alive to this day. So, equipment can fail. Is there any way to ensure safety? Is it simply look both ways before you cross? School buses and buses, long vehicles stop and ensure that nothing's coming. What would you give advice to folks who are crossing railway tracks?
Well, with my experiences and years of seeing what can go on in the railway industry with the type of incidents, what I do, and I always approach a railway crossing, I don't necessarily go to a dead stop, but I slow down, I put my windows down, just because equipment can fail. Things can happen out there. It's highly automated, but still things can happen. And I'm always looking both ways. And I've gotten into trouble with my wife because it's a winter, cold day. Both windows are down. She's saying, "What are you doing?" I'm saying, "Keeping us alive. I want to make sure we're clear." And she's gotten used to it.
And
But
that's
now,
so you can hear a train because they make a lot of noise.
absolutely. And nowadays with the Waze map system, we've made arrangements through Operation Lifesaver Canada to have railway crossings on them. And then there's an audible voice that tells you in X number of meters, there is a railway crossing. So it's good for the trucking industry. It's good for anybody who wants to use Waze or just getting around. So that's giving it that added a bit more.
Yeah, I get an alert every morning as I cross the tracks or as I approach the tracks, so it's amazing. There's a question from Russell. He wants to know about rail enforcement from the CN and CP police in West in West End Coburg. He says there's no that a developer's made a path from. Let me put this on screen. You can read it. He's saying that. A developer's made a path from the development across both CN-CP main lines to get to Lake Ontario. At one time, they even promoted using the path in their advertising. And so he has some concerns for safety there.
Okay, what I would do with, if it's CN and CP police tracks, because they're close together, I would get a hold of their CN communications or public affairs and let them know. Or even there's numbers at railway crossings, like a 1-800 number that they can call for either the CN police dispatch or CP police dispatch, let them know what's going on. But what I can do is I can pass this on also to my contacts. If I can get like a real location as to where it is, a little bit closer, and who the developer maybe is, and we can get in touch with them, because that's totally unacceptable.
Russell, if you want to send us a message, you can do that at Traffic Safety Programs, TorontoPolice.on.ca. I'll put it up on the screen in a second. You can send us an email, and I'll forward it across to Peter. And here we go. I'm going to throw up the email right here. Traffic Safety Programs at TorontoPolice.on.ca. I will go ahead and forward your information that you send me to Peter so we can get that looked at. That's awesome. Okay, give you another second to do that. Going back to the chat, you have made, your advice is already being seen and heard. Ashton says, very good idea about stopping, in reference to stopping before the tracks, opening the windows, so he thanks you for that. We have another video. Let's see here. We've got another video that we can play. Here we go. Now this one is called, They Had Everything. Let me put this on screen for you.
Kaylin was lovable. She was the class clown. She was everybody's friend.
John was a prankster. He was the most happy-go-lucky boy I knew. He had the world in the palm of his hand.
She was very funny. She was very spontaneous. She had a bright future ahead of her and was taken too soon.
He was 6'5", and he just had the most beautiful smile.
She was beautiful, athletic, smart. I never thought that I would have to warn Kaylin that if she played her music loud, she wouldn't hear a train whistle.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Help us bring that number to zero. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Wow, these are all really powerful videos. So, rural areas versus areas in densely populated cities, different types of crossings to consider, different ways of notifying. In that video, they showed one specifically that didn't have any flashing lights, that didn't have any arms. So, in that situation, you want to be looking for that horn. Are those common still?
Yes, they are common. There's still a lot of rural crossings that do not have any type of I'm going to call like warning barriers that do come down, or signals. So that's why it's important. There's always signage a little bit further ahead that there's a crossing coming up. It's always good to be a little bit more vigilant, and that's where that bubble comes in, where we get so involved in what we're driving. We're either listening to tunes, listening to maybe talk radio, whatever it is, or being distracted by your cell phone. Like that's still an issue that I'm sure you're very well aware of. And then all of a sudden the train's there, and the tragedies occur, and that's what we want to stop. We want that awareness there, that treat that as any intersection. Trains always have the right of way.
Angela says, "Thank you for bringing this all to light. This has to be heard, and changes have to be made." So I don't know what changes specifically Angela's looking for, but it is important to notify, to share this information, because folks, especially folks that aren't used to interacting with trains or don't live in communities that have them crossing through, it's completely foreign. It's not something they're used to. So there's no other way to get this messaging out than reaching out through shows like ours and in efforts like Operation Lifesaver. These are all really important educational opportunities, and it's for everyone's safety. So this is awesome. What would you say the biggest misunderstanding or falsehood that's spread around train safety? Things that people just have it wrong.
The train's going to see, and they're going to be able to stop in time. There's still that perception that, oh, they'll see me, I got lots of time. And it's not being aware of how fast those trains are coming. It's that perception, because the way the tracks converge. Let me put it this way. When you're watching an airplane coming towards you, let's say you're landing at Pearson, you see that it's floating in the air as it's coming towards you. You don't realize the speed until it goes over top of you. And wow, that's pretty quick. And it's the same with trains. You can't judge the distance. It may seem like it's a fair distance away. I'm going to be able to run across the tracks, beat it, but yet it's right there very quickly.
Now,
it's a popular misconception.
And here's just to flip it for a second. Go train safety. You're at a station. It's not like there's an area. There's some yellow lines. You should stay away from them. And very often, people, especially when it's a crowded waiting area, people get all huddled up. They cross the line and they're waiting for a train. The train shows up, and very often, people get clipped. Their bags get caught. Bad things happen. For specifically for platform safety or for station safety, what would you suggest?
Stay well clear of that yellow platform line. It's there for a reason. It's not that we had a bunch of extra paint and say, well, we're going to get rid of it and paint these lines. It's for your safety. We even have signage on the fences between tracks or even other areas that please stay, don't go beyond the yellow platform line. Wait for the train to stop. That train coming in, you see the lights off in the distance. It could be like a snowy or foggy day. That may not be the GO train. That could be a VIA train coming through at a very high speed. And, you got to be so aware of that. You got to stay well back of it. And it's amazing when a train that goes by like that, how it can slowly suck something small in towards it because of the speed. It's actually like a vacuum cleaner in a sense. The air gets pushed out. It's got to come back in. And I was at a platform one time where a young mom with a little boy, he was about a year old, in a stroller, started to move in, and I got the stroller quickly, pulled it back, and sort of just gave her a quick. I didn't give her just a quick talking. It's sort of like, this is why you have to be aware. Please stay back, and you learn from those things.
It's amazing. I just saw a video on Facebook, I think, and it was a new, I guess, invention or a new way of collecting energy, and it's to create. They've created these small fans that are generators. So when trains pass by them, the wind that's caused by them, it may have also been trucks, but that wind that spins the turbine. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of vacuum when these big vehicles go by, and not just trains, but if you're ever on the highway and you're passed by a large truck that's moving faster than you, your vehicle shakes. It's amazing how much force and how much suction there is. So staying far away from them is a really good idea. I remember about a gentleman who was standing near the tracks, and his, I should say gentleman, a person, their laptop bag got caught. And it tore it open, or it pulled the bag, and that was the only thing that was past the line. And there's not a lot of free space. That line's there, and it's pretty specific. Don't cross it.
Yes, I think you're referring to the incident that occurred at one of our stations on the West End in Long Branch. It was a VIA train that came through, and it was, the young lady was very fortunate.
Yeah, because it could have taken her with
it. All that came off was the laptop bag, and she wasn't drawn under it. And it's standing too close. And it was one of those, I believe, a March morning where it's like a bit of snow, a bit of fog. It was like a mild morning, and the conditions aren't the greatest to be able to see it. That's why you got to stay well back.
You make a really good point bringing up the road or the platform conditions. A lot of these train stations are outside. Yeah, you guys salt and you do, but conditions change rapidly, and it could be a slip and fall situation at the worst possible time. So giving yourself, by staying far back, not waiting for your favorite seat, staying as far back as possible is really what you want to do for safety. Now we talked about that multiple tracks. People often cross and they see a train go by and they go, "Oh, I can go now." There's more than one track at many locations.
Yes, there is. And there's one video last summer that went quite famous and viral on Facebook. It was the two deputies that were, I believe it was in Texas. There was a double cross. There was two tracks, lights and sirens on. I believe they were going to a call where a little boy was drowning in a pool. And
Wow.
of course, they're focused on going to help somebody. But the one train went by, and with the cam footage from other vehicles, you could hear the other train whistle. They couldn't hear it because of their lights
Siren.
and sirens are going. And as soon as that one train went through, the one deputy started to go through, and the other train came through and clipped them to be on the driver's side front end. It rolled the vehicle a few times, but luckily he walked out of it with
Wow.
some scratches. He was very fortunate, but it shows you how quickly something can happen. And a lot of at first emergency services used to think, well, train should stop. Well, once it stops, it gets started again because we see red lights. Trains have the right of way. You got to
Absolutely, it's the right of weight. It just there's no way to react, and
Yes.
there you now have systems in place, camera systems that are deployed on the front of trains to capture important footage at the end, so they can see what happened after the fact. But these are horrible. When things go wrong, they go horribly wrong, and the only way to prevent these issues is to be aware and be diligent about your own safety. What else would you like to share for messaging?
It's be aware of your surroundings. Always be careful. Trains, like you say, they're amazing machines. We have to have them. They helped build this country to the big country we have. It was the railroads that brought them together.
Mm-hmm.
They served their purpose through 2 world wars, carrying troops and supplies to the coast. They still carry a lot of freight. They take a lot of trucks off the road. I don't want to say much about the trucking industry, but it does add to our green environment that we want to create more because they can carry a lot more loads. Always be aware. We do everything we can with Metrolinx and other railroad companies at crossings to have the best technology and the safest possible crossings that we can create in the world. We do our part, but please do your part. We want to make sure that it's a shared responsibility. That's the way I look at it.
All things are all roads, trains, absolutely. Angela has a question. She wants to know what the death rate is due to trains today. Would you have information like that?
Yeah, the stats as to the end of July this year, at railway crossing incidents, we've had 7 fatalities. So it's a little bit lower, and I think a lot of it is based because of COVID. There was a lot less vehicles out in the road. But we've seen over, let's say, going back to 2007, there were 26 fatalities and 221 incidents in that
Wow.
year. And
Well, just in
back
the 1
to-
year.
Yeah, back in 2020, we went down to 129, but yet the fatalities were about 18. It's going down, but I'd like to see, like you say, with Vision Zero, 0 incidents take place.
No, that's absolutely it. And Angela just responded back. It may only be 7, but 7 is still a lot because with Vision Zero, we say 1 is too many.
Absolutely, 7 is still too many, and a lot of it is just getting the awareness out there.
Well, I was going to say, with that, I hope you can come back more often because although this is the first time you're visiting us, I'd love to have you on again to continue talking about rail safety. I think it's incredibly important, and we should do this on a regular basis.
The one other thing, if I may add, is the program that Operation Lifesaver has set out and launched on June 2nd is the suicide prevention one. That's a topic that's very important and should be talked about on a daily basis as well. Mental health doesn't go away after one day. It's
Certainly.
always there. And we were lucky to have some people that wanted to come on And the videos are there at Operation Lifesaver website, and they tell their story. And that today is better because someone was there to listen. And we do have the 1-800 number for Connects Ontario at all our crossings and all our stations throughout the GTA.
And that's Connects Ontario?
Yes, CONNEX. That's their. They have a 24/7 line that someone can talk to whoever they want.
And what's the telephone number for them?
That I don't have.
Okay, I was going to put it up on screen for everybody, but it's Connects Ontario, and it is at the railway crossings and
Yes.
access points. I've having formerly been a collision and photographer for traffic services. I used to go to scenes which were very unfortunate, and where people had died by result of either being in the wrong place and not intentionally coming into contact with a train, or in a situation where they did, and it's not a pretty sight. It's not a nice way to go. But that being said, getting people to help if when it's available and when you can still make change is important. So
When we first put the signs up, the manager of the facility, I gave him a call and I sort of said, can you give us statistics as to how are these lines working? And it's hard for them to sort of ask people, well, where are you calling from? Like, they want to just get the help they need. Mm-hmm. But they made us aware of, in the first week, there was a young lady that wanted to commit death by suicide, and she was at a crossing. And then she saw the number there and said, well, sort of basically paraphrasing, what the heck, I'll give it a try again, see if someone wants to talk to me and help me. She connected through. They were able to get Peel Regional Police to the crossing. They got the help that young lady needed. And to me, that was the biggest win that we ever had. Even though we only know the one, there's a lot of others, but that was worth it. That one life was saved.
And one life at a time. They're all a win. So
they're all a win, yes.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, Peter, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this information. We'd love to have you again, because I'm sure we've just scratched the surface. There's so much to talk about. I have another video that I'm going to play for everyone as we close out the show. But anything to add before we sign off?
When you come to a crossing, or number one, don't trespass. Be a good example to children and to other adults. And at crossings, look, listen, live.
Look, listen, live. I love it. Okay, we're going to play this last one. It's called "If I Could Go Back," and hang out, Peter, because once we finish off, I'll come back to the green room. We'll chat for a bit. But to everyone watching, be safe out there. Rail safety, very serious messaging. Is there a website that you want to send anyone to that we can send to put on screen for anyone?
Yeah, it's operationlifesaver.ca. That's all the information there. There's even a great contest for kids with Thomas the Train. Operation Lifesaver is working with Thomas the Train, and we're launching their coloring books, and being with railway safety aspect. We had to convert it all to the Canadian version because we couldn't show a double-decker driving on the wrong side of the road, but it's great. So
operationlifesaver.ca. I hope I have it right on the screen for you.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good stuff.
Great place to go.
And Angela Topping also says thank you for coming out. Angela's very active on our channel. It's awesome. It's great that we can do these live chats where people can ask questions. I'm going to take us off screen. We'll be back to you in a second, but I'm going to leave everyone with this video. And again, it's called "If I Could Go Back."
I would give anything to just go back and tell him, hey, that's not a great idea.
If I could go back to that day, I would have turned her phone off.
I would tell her I love her. She'd be 20 as of last Monday.
And I wish I could say to him, Kevin, get off the tracks. Just get off the tracks. You won't hear it. You won't feel it coming.
I just miss her. Wish I could hold her.
But I can't go back. And she can't go back.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Help us bring that number to zero. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.